Step on up, grab a chair, take a load off your feet. There's whiskey on the table and stories to repeat. We're talking about the hustle, the grind, and what we'll find in the heart of second chances where treasures bind.
Welcome everyone to the video. Welcome to the channel. It's Friday again from me, and I'm actually filming this on Friday, not like last week. It's actually during the day, so I have, everything's ready to go. Hope, knock on wood, of course. Like the video, thumbs up, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what you think of the pickups, of the what solds, of the, not the pickups, because I don't pick up any on this one. This is all what sold. We do 10 cool, unique, interesting items that sold during the week. It's not everything I sold during the week, but it's the cool, unique, interesting stuff that I hope helps everybody out, because not everybody necessarily knows what to pick up. And I do mention this in videos that in my thrifting videos that the most important thing. Let me just put my phone on do not disturb so I don't get any noises or anything in the video. Being able to find what you can buy at a low price to resell at a higher price. Now, there's the obvious stuff. Apple, Apple, of course, I always talk about Apple, Bose, in clothing, all the major name brands. Pendleton is a good one. I recently sold a Pendleton jacket, but Pendleton jackets, Pendleton 100% wool stuff. There's some of the obvious stuff. And the obvious things are going to be the items that are priced up at thrift stores, garage sale. People are going to ask more for those items because they know what they are. They recognize the names. They recognize the styles and all that. And with me showing you what is sold, what I'm picking up, I'm trying to show you, what my 20 plus years of experience have taught me on what else can sell besides those brand names, besides those obvious things. Obviously, I'm not going to leave behind if it's a great deal, any of these major name brands that sell consistently on eBay. I'm not going to leave it behind if there's a great, if it's at a great price, I'll definitely pick it up and resell it. But we have to get better. We have to constantly learn. We have to constantly be outsmarting the competition. And sometimes the competition is the people pricing those items, at price. I show primarily thrift stores. So just because I think thrift stores are everywhere and it's a great starting point. There are still great items out there at thrift stores. You just have to know what to pick up, what items to pick up. And I think you can probably do it pretty much everywhere. There are maybe a few exceptions out there. There may be a few exceptions out there, but there are, there's plenty of stuff out there in the world. Although we'll talk about this, after the what solds, there may be a lot less stuff coming in to the United States. There is some data starting to come out regarding tariffs and imports and all that. We'll definitely just be discussing that. We'll look a little bit into earnings. Yeah, there was a lot of tech earnings this week, and not too much. It's pretty quiet. I was watching CNBC today. I mean, I watch CNBC all the time, so it's always on. The news. They were even saying, it's great that the news is quiet. That everything's pretty quiet right now, and then the market will run, off normal fundamentals, right? It's reacting. A lot of the big moves are reactions, so we'll talk about that as well too. In regards to reselling, recent video that everyone's talking about. Someone posted a video about not having to list every single day, so we'll definitely discuss that first. Well, first in the second half of the video. So let's look at let's break open the whiskey. What do we got? So we got a whiskey that I don't like. Well, I shouldn't say I don't like this one. I'm not a Jack Daniel's fan. I've never been a Jack Daniel's fan. Of course, Jack Daniel's was the first whiskey I ever tried when I was able to try whiskey. It was the first that I ever tried. And of course, in the beginning, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're tasting, what you're doing. You just, throwing back shots, right? But I've never really liked Jack Daniels as far as tasting, as far as, its tasting notes, all that, the nose on it. Never been a fan. I'll definitely have a Jack and Coke. I'll mix it with anything, because it's usually the cheapest thing out there at restaurants is Jack Daniels. Yeah, all right, give me a Jack Coke. Um, and of course, tastes more like soda, right? Just a little soda with a little kick. But I bought this a while ago. It's been sitting in the cabinet. It hasn't been sealed. I mean, it hasn't been opened yet. So it's been sitting in the cabinet for a while. This is bottled in it says on this. Oh, November 24th, 2021. So I've had it for a couple of years. I think the reason why I picked it up was probably because it was a great price. I was like, I'll pick it up for that price. Why not? Um, 47% alcohol. So we have close to 90% proof on that. And it is a single barrel select. So this comes out of a single barrel. So let me crack this open really quick. Hold on one second. I'm dog sitting. So let me let the dogs in really quick. Hold on one moment. Okay, they're going out. They're going in. They're going out. They're going in. It's like kids, right? Okay, so let's crack open Jack Daniel's single barrel select. I don't even know what the normal percentage and proof is of a regular Jack Daniel's, so no clue. All right, let's crack this boy open here. It was actually I haven't been seeing this one because it's a smaller bottle than typical, and it was kind of hidden underneath another shelf. I'm like, hey, look at that. Like I mentioned before, I'm kind of going through my cabinet, seeing what I got. I actually have a several bottles that are unopened. Maybe we'll do there was a wild turkey. I had a wild turkey rye in the back cabinet, so maybe I'll crack that open next week. We'll do the wild turkey. Yeah, let's see here. Oh, by the way, I recently got this in a video, which I think came out yesterday. This is the whiskey tour of Scotland. So really cool little stemware. I'm gonna keep it. I think I put that in the video too. Artificial cork, definitely. It smells like whiskey. Smells like whiskey, like bourbon whiskey, American whiskey. It's not a bourbon. It's a Tennessee whiskey. Oh, I think I overpoured there. Oh, well, okay, let me do a little overpour. But either way, um, there it is right there. No, it was just quite a bit of whiskey there. Okay, well, I mean, it's fine. It's Friday, right? Smudge on my hand. Okay, but so Jack Daniels is known for filtering their whiskey through charcoal. In case you didn't know that, they filter their whiskey through charcoal. I think it's like maple or something like that. And they do it before, if I'm not mistaken, they do it before the aging process. I have to double check to look it up. But I'm pretty sure it's before the aging process. They filter it. Some filter it after the aging process. There is, some others that filter it through there. Scotch does not. Irish whiskey does not. It's a few select American ones that do that. I don't know if that's why I don't like it. I don't know. I don't know why. I just don't like it. It's not my favorite. I mean, this one isn't bad. I mean, very mellow on the nose. You don't really get too much. I don't know. Get my nose all the way in there. We'll see. Let's see if those vapor really hit. There's a whiskey guy, very famous whiskey guy, very long nose. I believe he's from Scotland, if I'm not mistaken, and he's pretty famous for like really getting his nose all the way in there. But I mean, he doesn't get hit with the vapors, but I'm not getting anything on the nose. Like very, very slight hints of just traditional American whiskey. I mean, you can definitely tell it's American whiskey, but I can't tell you on the nose if there's any, cherries, which I typically get, wood, smoke, berries. I don't know. You don't get anything on the nose. All right, well, let's jump into the taste, I guess. It's Jack Daniels. Okay, for me, there's nothing there. There is nothing there. Wow. I'm a little bit perplexed. Well, then again, I'm not because I've had whiskeys like that before where it's just, yeah, you get a sense that it is whiskey. You get the, a little bit of the nosing, you get the whiskey. On the palate, you get whiskey, but there's just there's zero complexity to it, zero body, zero, it's just, it's nothing. It's just a glass of whiskey. There's just heat. There's heat. And it's not incredibly hot either. Yeah, nothing there. I mean, it tastes like whiskey. It tastes like a whiskey. That's it. It tastes like whiskey. American whiskey, but it's not like something I'm going to be sitting there. It's basically like for a Jack and Coke, in my opinion. It gives you a little kick to a Jack and Coke or Pepsi or whatever you want to mix it with. I like to mix it with black cherry, actually. There's a great black cherry soda. I believe I mentioned it before. Black cherry soda at BJ's restaurant that I like to mix. I usually just get a shot of Jack Daniels on the side because they don't mix it naturally with the black cherry soda. And then I'll just add it myself. But there's nothing there. There's nothing there. I mean, maybe a little bit of sweetness there, but I couldn't tell you what the sweetness is. The sugar sweet. That's it. I couldn't tell you. I don't get any smoke or any wood or anything, or I don't know. It's not there. But either way, we'll sip it through the rest of maybe as we age it. Maybe when I break for the second half, I'll get a little bit of water. Add a little bit of water, a couple of drops of water to that, and we'll see if that changes anything. But just right out of the bottle, eh, eh, it's Jack Daniels. So I wouldn't be wasting my money on that again. Okay, let's move on. We got What Soul. My mouse is really, really slow right now. All right, let's jump into the What Solds. And right off the bat, cloisonne, Chinese, horse, brass. Brass stuff does really, really well. Cloisonne does really well too. I mean, it's not like crazy. The more intricate, the better. You gotta make sure it's a real cloisonne though. So the actual where the enameling is painted into, it's actual like metal. It's raised. You'll feel it. It's not painted gold and then filled in with color. It's not that, or with enamel. It's not that. So it is actually raised metal and then it's colored in. That is cloisonne. I guess if it's outlined with gold and then colored in, you could say in the style of cloisonne, like in the style of Murano. But technically, the other way is real cloisonne. And then it's brass on top of that. So brass is, incredibly popular. Brass, brass sells all the time. People love brass. Brass, I mean, scrap brass even has a considerable, it commands a bit of a more premium as well too. But let's see, what do we sell that for? Let me go into my, hold on. One moment, please. Okay, just checking on some orders here really quick. Someone's asking for combined shipping, so we'll definitely be doing that. We'll combine the shipping. $25 is what it's sold for. $8.19 is what they pay it in shipping. And this went in a padded poly bag, as most of my items do. It's metal, of course, I did not put it in there just bare, just throw it in a bag and send it on its way. We wrapped it 3 times with bubble wrap. And then when I have like animals like this with, legs are sticking out like that, whether it's metal or not, it doesn't really matter what the material is. If there's like an opening there, I'll kind of fill in the void with packaging paper, which is what I did. So I filled in between the legs and just filled it up with packaging paper before I actually wrapped it with bubble wrap. So I don't know. I always feel like maybe if it gets, that way kind of cushions. If something large lands on it, it'll still add additional cushioning between the legs. They won't bend or crack or anything like that. So, like Briar horses, and if it's a low end Briar horse, I'll send them in my large padded poly bags, and I'll make sure to stuff packaging paper in between the legs, and then wrap it with bubble wrap, of course, for the trip. So that's what I typically do with these with animals. You typically it's animals, horses, giraffes, anything with long legs. So really, really cool. Enameled closing a horse, brass horse, really cool. Hold on a minute. It sold relatively quickly within a week. So really cool. Okay. This was really cool. I remember this just came out in a video too recently. So Everlane is definitely a decent name to look out for. If you can find a brand new, even better. A little crossbody, purse action, travel, nylon. What did it sell for? It sold for $37.68, and the shipping was $6.57 in shipping. Padded poly bag is what this went in. And just a good name to look out for. Not really any, I don't have any talking notes on this one. But it's just Everlane is a good brand to look out for. Crossbody. Crossbodies are incredibly popular and very versatile. So I would always use that keyword if it is a crossbody. So just make sure to try it on. Make sure you can crossbody the purse. Okay. If you can't, or it might be just a shoulder purse. If it looks long enough to be a crossbody, but it's not quite, then it's probably a shoulder purse, a shoulder bag. So I sell purses all the time. So, I was in the top 2% or 3% of purse sellers on eBay, which is kind of surprising to me, but really, really cool. So just definitely keep your eye out for Everlane. Even used, they sell pretty good. If the camera, I feel like the camera's this side is cutting off this side of my head, my ear. I'm looking at the screen. I'm like, what's it doing now? What's it doing today? Give me an update or something to fix this. Okay, and okay, mugs. Now this mug sold for above average. So I always want to feature items that will sell because mugs, I've heard people and big name people and influencers and people who are into people that will recommend ways to make money. And I've heard people say, "Oh, buy mugs, resell mugs, resell them. They do really well." Well, not all mugs. About 99% of mugs do not sell well at all. Even Starbucks mugs, it's very rare when you find a good mug. It's not easy. So whenever there's a mug that I think goes for above average, and above average for a mug, in my opinion, is so I'll only pick up a mug if it's going to go for around $15. Um, so it's got to be something special. So $15 for me is the bottom for mugs. And if it sells for above that, it's like great. So that sold for $17.64. $10.85 is what they paid in shipping. Now that's the problem right there with the mugs is the shipping. Yeah, how many people are going to pay $10 to get a mug shipped out to them? You're talking like $30 for a single mug. In my opinion, that's a lot of money for a mug. But then again, I've seen people pay for crazier stuff, pay up for crazier things. But really, really cool. Target it actually had a penguin on the inside, so that kind of added a little bit to it. So Target, this is just from Target, their Wonder Shop penguin. It was during a Christmas at some point. Not sure what year that was that this came out, but definitely unique to Target. Really cool, an above average selling mug. Keep your eye out for it. It's a winter item. It's a Christmas item, in my opinion, and it's sold now. So somebody wanted it now. Went in a 6x6x6 box. This definitely does not go in a padded poly bag. I'm not a madman. I guess we just want something just to, if you want to be adult and have an adult beverage and just sip on something that's, that you just want to sip on, that might be okay. Like I said, I mean, there's heat there, but it's not too hot. Now speaking of barware and bar and drinking, whatever, this was a topper. This topper actually came with a fairly expensive decanter over at Goodwill. It didn't go with a decanter, but the decanter was actually a Frigidaire decanter. a Vaseline glass. It glows under black light. Again, you know my feelings on black. Yeah, I think people hype it up way too much. This Vaseline glass, and it's not even necessarily all glass is considered Vaseline glass, because Vaseline glass technically is supposed to look like Vaseline. But they call, all glass that glows Vaseline glass. It just kind of, just all of it eventually got the name, Vaseline. Um, but technically it has to look like Vaseline to be called Vaseline glass, and it does glow. So, but a lot of the green glass glows, and this Frigidaire thing was green, which means it had, some elements in it that cause it to glow under UV light. And this was on top. This was a topper, and I decided to sell the topper. Why not? I'll sell the topper separately because it really didn't even go with it at all. And it sold. It sold. What did it sell for? I would recommend, picking up all. This was a little more unique. It had obviously the silver on it, kind of like a honey, not a honeycomb, but like a beehive type of look to it. I could have probably used that in the title, but nonetheless, it sold within about a month. $12. So we're not getting rich, but still, we actually paid for the decanter and combo with this, and so the decanter is profit. $6.57 what they paid in shipping. Padded poly bag. This will go on a padded poly. It did go on a padded poly bag. Of course, because it's glass, I did a little extra wrapping. So typically, 3 wraps in bubble wrap, but I did 3 more because it is a glass piece. And I probably could have thrown it in a box, but I think why, boxes are technically more expensive than padded poly mailers. And if it's going to make it safely in a padded poly mailer, why not? So that's what I did. I sent it a padded poly mailer. It's, knock on wood. Everything's good. Okay. Look at my mouse is like jumping here. I don't know why. Okay, Bibles. I was actually talking to Mike, Golden State Picker, today, and he was talking about selling Bibles and stuff like that. He finds Bibles, sells them all the time. They sell all the time. But Bible covers also sell. I mean, I guess you could use this for any book, really. I don't even know. This actually had a tag for a Bible that it's for Bibles. And, I used to see this all the time. We used to visit Berean Christian bookstore all the time. It was actually right next to a, Marie Callender's in our area. It is since closed down now, but it was a Christian bookstore. So of course they had all kinds of Bibles and Bibles accessories. That's not where I got this from. I got this from the Goodwill, but really, really cool. They still sell. This was a real nice one. Obviously had the handles and everything, zip up, provide good protection for your Bible, book, whatever you want to put in it. $23.25 what it sold for. $6.99 of what they paid in shipping, and padded poly bag. What's next? More brass. Brass sells. Brass is really good. If you can get brass at a good price, typically brass is priced up, but if you get it at a good price, it will sell incredibly well. Vintage scale, Gatco, brass, and wood scale. It came with weights as well too, even though they're not featured in this, but it did come with weights. Really, really cool. What did it sell for? Vintage. Got a lot going for it. It doesn't go for that much. So don't think like, generally brass goes for up over $20 if it's big enough. $30.92 what it paid for the item. My eyes like watering like crazy. I told you I'm taking care of dogs, and so I do have allergies from animals, and so that's one of the things. My eyes start watery. So when I break here, I'm gonna go get some more allergy medicine, and and survive another day. Just one more day. $30.92 is what they paid for it. $11.70 what they paid in shipping. And this did go in a box. It went in a 12x8x6 box. So really cool. Gatco, just vintage brass, vintage items, vintage. If it's in good condition, I would definitely be picking them up. I wouldn't pay too much for them because they're like most brass stuff is going to fall around the $20, $30 range, depending on the size. Obviously, if it's tiny brass stuff, I don't over that much. But Really, really cool scale, vintage. I didn't think this was even used. It was in its original box, and it was still wrapped up with that plastic on the wood, which I didn't even mess with. You can see, I took a picture with the plastic and everything. So really cool. Keep your eye out for this stuff. Vintage scales. My mouse isn't even working right. I gotta fix my mouse. I gotta do something about my mouse. Let me turn it on. That'll work. When I was in IT, that advice worked 90% of the time. Turn it on and off. Um, I believe I may have mentioned this before, but Gorin Brothers is a great brand to look out for in hats. You they have those hats with like, well, this is a Detroit Tigers hat, but typically they'll have a little square with a animal in it. I usually see a lot of farm animals like roosters and stuff. Uh, and those are Gorin and definitely ones you want to be on the lookout for. There are a lot of knockoffs, so be careful. But Gorin does other hats too, and they use this type of hat. So Gorin Brothers hat. This was a small one, and so I went on their website to see what a small, because it just said small. What does a small size of your brand hat? What's the actual size, right? So that's how I got the 6 7/8 on it. So really cool. $31.78 is what they paid for it. $6.57 is what they paid in shipping. That's what in my hat box, which is a 975 box. Really cool. Definitely got for Gorin Brothers. It flies under the radar. So a lot of this stuff here flies under the radar. Many people that are in the back of the thrift store pricing stuff out don't know this. So, you got to be on the lookout for this stuff. You got to know what's quality. So when you pick something up, you got to know be able to identify what's quality by feel and by look. Doesn't necessarily mean it's valuable, but at least you can identify its quality, and then from there do further work and look up. Yeah, I don't know what's up with my mouse right now. My mouse is just skipping everywhere. I got my eye watering. I got my mouse skipping everywhere. I don't even know where my mouse is at. I have no control over it right now. Come on. This is really odd. This is really annoying, actually. Okay, macrame. I will not be picking up macrame pieces anymore. It's just not moving that quickly. This sat for a few months, and I figured it would go pretty quickly because first of all, it's macrame and it has owls in it. But it didn't. It took a while to sell. So I'm definitely not. I would advise to, unless you can get it dirt cheap, I would advise you to not pick up macrame right now. It's just not really moving. This did sell though. Sold for $28.97, $10.67 what they paid in shipping. I did put this in a box. I put it in one of my hat boxes, 975, because the owls were ceramic. So I just wanted to be a little more cautious with it. I probably could have gotten away putting it in a padded poly bag, but I didn't. I chose to put it in a box. And it kind of looks like DNA strands there. It's kind of cool. Kind of a cool pattern, kind of a cool look. It definitely would, in between the owls, on the bottom of it, it's actually like bunched together. So you would put a pot in the middle of it. So it's really, really cool. But macrame, it just isn't moving that well right now. I don't know if anybody out there has had success with it right lately, or you're seeing a decline in it, but that does happen. That does happen from time to time. Things will get really hot. And they'll start selling like crazy. Prices go up because there's more demand, and then all of a sudden, the market will get cold on it, and then the prices go down. It takes longer to sell, to start sitting in inventory. So, I was happy that it moved, and I just won't be picking up macrame pieces unless I get it dirt cheap. Now, this is a cool piece. I think I mentioned this before. Wizards, really cool. Fantasy stuff, cool. But it's a Westland, and Westland are pretty much gift shop things, gift shop items, gift brand that you'll find in gift shops everywhere. So it's not necessarily a high-end brand, even though they may look high-end. They may sell for high-end price, but it's really, really all about subject matter when it comes to these. Subject matter is everything. I would not advise to pick up items just based on the fact that they're Westland. It's got to be subject matter. Like the horses, they do the painted horses. Those are really, really cool because there's a lot of horse people out there, people that like horses, love horses. And if you get them for a good price, I would definitely be picking them up. But this one here, Wizard Fantasy Dragons, also another incredibly popular subject here. So, but it is a music box as well too. Music boxes don't typically do that well, but it's a great sculpture. And what did it sell for? 30. Oops. $30.81 is what it sold for. $13.92 is what they paid in shipping. And this went in an 8x8x8 box. Did I say 3/8? 3/8. It was 3/8 in there. 8x8x8 box. So really, really cool piece. I really like it because I'm into fantasy stuff. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I believe I mentioned that before. So really, really cool. But yeah, I don't know if I was a real. I like the like Camelot. I believe that would be King Arthur. Well, I was not really a big King Arthur fan. I like the Disney cartoon. And I like the King Arthur with what's his name? Richard Gere and the guy that played James Bond, which is the name escapes me right now. Oh, can't remember his name. He was also in the movie The Rock with Nicolas Cage. I remember all of the actors that he acted with. I can't remember. Sean Connery. I liked the King Arthur with Sean. I don't remember what it's called. But again, that movie explores the affair between Guinevere. Am I pronouncing that right? Guinevere, or I believe it's Guinevere and Lancelot, if I'm not mistaken. You have to correct me if I'm wrong there. But that was one of my favorite King Arthur movies. So otherwise, Lord of the Rings fan. And a brand that really, really flies under the radar, AKG. Now you may see these initials on other headphones, like from Samsung. I see a lot with Samsung. They partner with them a lot. But they don't really go for that much. But these ones here, their own actual branded headphones, $30. I see a lot of $30 in this video here. $30 and $30 even actually. $5.65 what they paid in shipping. Padded polybag what this went into. But these were really, really cool. I've been using these as my own headphones because if you watch my thrifting video several videos ago, I've been on the hunt for some new headphones because my daughter took mine. Basically, took my own headphones. I really liked them. They were Microsoft Surface headphones. So I would like to have another pair of Microsoft Surface headphones. But I got these little LG, I don't have them here, little LG goes around your neck, little earbuds. And I kind of like those right now. So I'm going to use those now. I've been using this one. What I don't like about these is that they sit on top of your ear. And so if you move your head suddenly, they start to flip around. So they don't cup your ear, which I think makes them more secure on your head. These will just kind of flip around a little bit. I mean, but they're great sounding headphones. They're really, really good. Excellent noise canceling. They're not necessarily like in retail, they go for a lot, but resale they don't go for that much. But they do fly under the radar, and you can get them really price, at a really, really good price. I found them at Goodwill for less than $5. So because they don't know the brand. So they got to get better at making sure these brands that fly under the radar that not everybody knows about. And then, come next year, everybody will have to look for some new brands that fly under the radar. So using my experience and 20 years, over 2 decades, we're going to go into 3 decades, hopefully in a few years, of reselling to be able to identify items that we can resell, buy at a low price, and sell at a high price. So I think that's the last one. Let me just double check. With that being said, I lost my picture. Oh, there we go. That's the last one. That was the last one. So that's 10 items. That was the last one. I'm gonna take a break here for a minute and then be right back with the discussion. If my mouse works, that is. I gotta reset everything because my mouse is not working. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I'm just trying to decide where to start at, and I decided here with feedback. So, and I added some water to the whiskey. So, let's give it a taste really quick, and let's see how that changes anything. We got 3 drops of water in there. Less burning. Actually, there's a little bit of wood in there now. Hold on. I'm getting a little bit more wood, a little bit more of the smoking process, or the smoke that comes in when they from the aging process. That's where it gets a lot of its flavors, from the aging process, from the barrel, from being in barrels. Um, I have I do have a bottle of just the actual, like, white clear liquids after they've done the distilling process. It's just clear. So I do have a bottle of just the clear. It's not it's not good in my opinion. I mean, it's very sweet. Very sweet. And so a lot of the other flavor, like the tasting points and the nose point, the nosing and all that, a lot of that stuff comes from the aging process when it's sitting in barrels. So that's where it gets a lot of its flavor from. And that's why when I'm talking about what I'm tasting, that's where it's all coming from. And and so of course you're gonna get wood because the barrels are made of wood. They've been fired, and so of course you're gonna get smoke from all that. Some of the like in peated whiskey, they will smoke the actual malt before it goes. Before they start making their spirit. So get smoke from that. So there's all kinds of different ways, that companies are trying to, or distilleries are trying to, get a unique flavor, a good flavor. First of all, it's got to be good. Try to get something unique in there. And we got a little bit more. Definitely got a little more wood. I mean, nothing really else. I mean, maybe the water helped it in that regard, but very uninteresting in my opinion. Very uninteresting. Okay, and therefore, in my opinion, not my favorite. So, I don't really like it at all. Okay, so I threw a picture here. I pulled the recent feedback I got. So this is what I really strive for. Um, you get that little dopamine hit when something made it, when you get the sale, first of all, and then obviously, once it made it, they're safe, and then you get the feedback here. 10/10 shipping. Excellent. Professional packaging. You hear me mention here all the time, padded poly bag, padded poly bag. I forgot what this item was, but padded poly bag, Um, but yeah, I'm making sure that the item is gonna make this trip safe. If I don't think it's gonna make it safe in a padded poly bag, I'm not gonna put it in a padded poly bag. I will make sure it gets the appropriate packaging. And, I get this feedback quite often. I get also the excellent, 5 stars, whatever, just the generic ones. But I do get these fairly, very often where people are praising the packaging, the shipping process, the speed in shipping as well too. Um, the speed of shipping, I can't necessarily really, I can get it to the post office, but as far as how fast it's going to take after that, I don't really have any control over that. But I always try to get everything out next day. Next day, everything comes. Well, I do get everything out next day because I have no choice but to get it out next day. I have to get it, so they purchase it. Next business day is going out. So anything purchased today, Friday, everything's going out Monday. I have made some exceptions when people have messaged me, and you can get it out on Saturday, and I'll try. The post office isn't that far, and one of the good rules that we like to go out on Saturday is a post office right next to it, so sometimes I'll drop it off there. I mean, they're very few and far between do I ever make an exception for a Saturday drop off. But but yeah, look, good as new as described. So that just goes to how you're picking up items, how well you're picking up, how well you are at picking up items. I'm not picking up, some ratty piece of trash. It's really got to be worth my time, because I'm going to clean stuff up if I can. If it warrants cleaning, I will clean stuff up. Like shoes, it's one of the reasons why I don't really pick up too much shoes because they're dirty, right? We'll walk on shoes all the time, dirty and messed up. And I try to stay away from those things. I try to get items that are I don't need that much effort into cleaning them. So good as new. They had several options to purchase the same cup, and with this seller, you didn't see their high rating. So the rating comes from positive feedback. You want positive feedback. Neutral feedback, you get no rating. Negative feedback, you get taken away a rating point. So you want to try to get your rating up as high as possible. Um, and we'll discuss a little bit more about negative feedback, stuff like that. Shows how dedicated professional they are at this, excellent value, honest shipping costs. So, honest shipping costs. I pass the shipping savings along to the buyers. So, they don't pay retail rate; they pay the rate that I pay. But obviously, I make a little bit more because I do add a little bit more weight to my items. Occasionally, I will add a little more extra dimension if it's a long item. I'll add an extra dimension here or there. So we do make a little bit on the shipping, not as much as if we were charging them full retail, but we are making a little bit to help cover the cost of all the shipping supplies that go into this. Now, one thing you really can't help sometimes with negative feedback is uh, people that are just negative in general. So, you encounter these people in the world. There are plenty of people out there who are just flat out negative, and you can't help it. You're gonna run into them, and they're just out just to be negative and try to bring everybody down into their negative world. Don't let them drag you down into the negative world. Don't let it deter you from selling on eBay if you get negative feedback. If you've done everything you can, you package it professionally, you got the item. Sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes you can package everything, just right, and it still gets broken in shipping. That does happen. You got to make sure you package it as best you possibly can, um, to get it there safely. So, I take pride in getting these types of feedback. I get it quite often, and I really do. It gives you that little hit, that dopamine hit, that make you feel good feeling. When a package gets there safely and someone goes above and beyond to write you such a long, such a long message in the feedback, right? They really have to put in a little bit of effort to put out a feedback like this. And so you really had to have, delivered an exceptional experience to warrant them to put in several sentences in the feedback system. So that's what I always strive to do. And I've heard on several others, several people talking about this, about negative feedback and not really worrying about feedback. Don't worry about the feedback. It's there's going to be negative people out there, yada yada yada. And I'm here to tell you, yes, there are negative people out there, but it is definitely something to worry about and pay attention to because if you're continually getting negative feedback, then you really got to look at your processes and what you're doing and why you're getting negative feedback. Is it really something that is beyond your control? Are there items constantly getting delivered that are broken? Are there items that are constantly getting maybe lost in the mail as well too? That could also be, obviously those will be taken off if it's due to the post office problem. Those negative feedbacks will get taken off. Contact eBay; they will take those off. Um, if you're getting negative feedback because of the condition of items, electronics is a category where you can get a lot of negative feedback and a lot of returns as well too for items not working or something broken on the inside. That does occur. And do you want to go down that rabbit hole? Do you want to be, working in electronic, or you have to be comfortable with negative feedback and you have to be comfortable with returns because that does happen in the electronics category. Um, and so are you picking up items that aren't, that do have the potential of getting broken? Not just, maybe you get home, you test it, you have it sit on the shelf too long, and for some bizarre reason, maybe it just stops working. I've had that happen before. I've had it shipped out and then, at some point in shipping, it maybe something happens, doesn't work. I've seen that before. Eh, Am I taking the other person's word for it? You know, Most of the time, I don't think these people are making stuff up. Like they're getting the item and then they say, "Oh, it doesn't work." I've had it many times where they say it doesn't work, they return it and it works perfectly fine. But I've also had where they return it and it really doesn't work. Was it something they did? I don't know. Some of the people I do a little bit of investigative work from time to time, and I see, okay, they have a decent amount of feedback. They don't seem like somebody that would be, based on feedback, that would be trying to scam me. So the feedback, so if you're getting too much negative feedback, maybe there's something to it. Maybe there's something you should be looking into in your own processes in regards to your business. Are you picking up items that are too dirty? Are you picking up items that have the potential to break in shipping? Are you not packaging things right? So, these are things to definitely be worried about if you are constantly getting negative feedback or getting more than normal negative feedback. It really, really depends on your volume, because obviously the more you do, the more interactions you're going to have with customers. It does lead to running into those people who are just going to leave negative feedback. It's just going to happen. So it's kind of, there's a lot of, they always talk about, there's a lot of things that have to go through your mind, a lot of things that go through your head. Um, when you're buying items, but not only that, you also have to think about this, are you only shipping out like, one, two, three, 4 items a day, and, you're getting one negative feedback a week? In my opinion, if you're doing that low volume, you really shouldn't be getting that much negative feedback, as opposed to someone who's doing maybe 100, 200, 300 a week, and maybe you're getting, one or two, three a month or so. That might be okay. That ratio is probably okay, because you're dealing with so many people. You're dealing with so many more customers. But nonetheless, I mean, I think you should definitely look at negative feedback. And is there anything more I could have done to prevent that? Um, was there something wrong with the description? Was there some, one thing I see is a lot of people that do sell similar, they go into other people's listings and they go, oh, sell similar, easy, boom, sell similar, and they don't change anything. So maybe there was something that they put in there in the description or item specifics that is different from yours. Maybe it's the wrong model number. Maybe it's the wrong, maybe they look alike, but maybe there's a slight discoloration or, I've seen something with toys, toy cars where, um, um, like the wheels just weren't right, exactly the same. They didn't, one wheel was larger than the other, so there's many different, variables. So just be cautious. Be cautious with selling similar, because, it may be the exact same thing. It may look almost alike. There may be something slightly different about it. And they can get you there. So just be cautious. If you are getting negative feedback, it is something to worry about. It could impact you. I know, if you talk to eBay at all about negative feedback, they'll tell you, it doesn't, it will have no effect on your, on your selling status, things like that. But if you get enough, it definitely could affect your sales. So definitely be aware of it and evaluate the negative feedback you get. If you are getting negative feedback, even if you're getting neutral feedback, definitely look at it, evaluate the situation. Was there anything that I could do to prevent that? And if you check all the boxes, like, I did this right, I did this right, I did this right, everything was done perfectly right. Um, it's beyond my control, and it is what it is. And maybe they're just a negative person. So, definitely look back at yourself. Oh, I know we don't always look at ourselves. We don't always take a step out of our shoes and look at ourselves and look at what we're doing. We always want to blame everything else, right? We always want to blame eBay, blame the customer, blame this person, but sometimes, we have to look at ourselves and look at ourselves. Should we, or is there any blame that could be put on us? And do that, evaluate yourself. So, it's definitely important, definitely something to be looking at. Looking at my notes here that I talked into my phone and wrote down from my talking. Oh, I love I remember back in the day, they used to use this program called Dragon Speak, to be able to talk and type, and it was horrible. What we have nowadays is amazing. I love it. Love it. I use it all the time. Just talk to my phone. Sometimes when I'm doing messages, though, I got to double check and reread it. It might be sending something wrong, something inappropriate. Um, and then, and we're going to get to the should you list every day. But there was one other thing here in my notes I wanted to bring up. And that was what was it here? Uh, oh, okay. So, you know, selling on eBay for such a long time and being a reseller, I'm finding items and reselling them online, being in the e-commerce space for so long, I've seen so much. Let me get the feedback off here. I don't need to see that anymore. I've seen so much, you've done so much, sold so much over the years, that, it gives me a little bit of insight into the world of e-commerce and selling online and, being able to read between the lines, being able to, see the advice that's out there. And some of it's great advice, some of it's good advice, some of it's mediocre advice, some of it's bad advice. I was watching someone today that was, you know, definitely selling counterfeit things. They were advising people to do something that was not that was incorrect. So there's definitely bad and wrong advice to be following, but there's, mediocre advice, there's good advice, there's great advice, so there's all kinds of it out there. And I would advise you to watch everything and formulate your own opinion. Um, But, I am able to read between the lines and see the truths that are there that not that anybody's necessarily hiding anything. It's just that, maybe this is the way they've been doing it the whole time. Or maybe they're not, giving you the whole story, uh, or maybe they're just giving you the story that they know, and that's it. But this having this much experience gives me the ability to be able to read into it a little bit more and read into things a little bit more. And you really, really want to be cautious with a lot of advice because the other thing too, I've mentioned this before, a lot of people are part-time sellers, resellers. So they give advice on reselling from a part-time perspective. Um, and you really, really want to take care of your account health. You really don't want issues to arise where your account could potentially get suspended, or you could go from above standard to, or from, top rated to above standard to below standard, on eBay, that is. You definitely don't want to risk that because it can affect your selling, how many items you sell every day. And some of the advice that people give can lead to issues where you have uh, um, strikes against your account, or it can lead to account defects. And, I've seen some people's, back end stores where they do have defects, but yet a lot of people are looking towards them for advice. Um, and they're not necessarily giving, the great advice. They're giving good advice or mediocre advice, or advice that's okay. Maybe they just, again, like I said, they're looking at it from a part-time perspective. So protect your account health at all costs. You know, you don't want to risk your account health. And one of the things is also, just having a good inventory system, tighten things up. In the past, and somebody also had mentioned, a lot of people people will show you only the good side of things, and they're not going to show you the bad side of things. They're not going to show you the mistakes that they make. I'm here to show you everything, I'm here to show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And everybody else on here is just showing you the good. They're not showing you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Well, I've done this for so long. I've worked out all the bad and the uglies. They're all out of here, right? I've done the bad, the good, the uglies. I've done all those years ago before I've been producing content. And so those have all been worked out of my system. Whenever something bad happened, whenever something negative occurred that affect my, my selling online, I changed it. I stopped doing that. I made the changes that were necessary to continue being a great seller, to get the good feedback that I get. And I know one of the things is losing items because I've done it in the past. I've done that in the past. And so what did I do after I lost 2 items? I developed a whole inventory system, that I run with now, and helps me find items quick. And then that allowed me to ship items next day because I'm finding items so quick, and then we've been doing that for years. So you just learn from your mistakes. You're going to make mistakes in the beginning. You're going to make mistakes. And a lot of people who are part-time, they can afford to make those mistakes. Whereas if you're doing it full time, you can't You can't make, I mean, we're gonna make mistakes that we're human. Don't get me wrong, we're gonna make mistakes because we're human, but learning from those mistakes because you really can't afford to make that mistake twice. You can't afford to be canceling items because you don't have it in stock. And I've discussed this before. If you don't have it in stock, the appropriate thing to do is to cancel the item because it's not in stock. I know many people, and comes from me being able to read between the lines. And also I've seen it happen. Um, where they will, and people have admitted to this as well too. So, and they're not necessarily hiding it. It's in plain sight. They will send items that are, if someone will place an order, they won't have it, but they have something similar, and they'll send that instead. And then they will have the buyer initiate a return. They'll be, oh, sorry, apologize for sending the wrong, sending out the wrong item, just return it. And they'll give you a refund. Then they force the buyer to return the item, then they give them a refund. Then, supposedly no one's the wiser. But because why are they doing that? Because they're trying to avoid a strike or a defect on their account from not having the item in stock. So definitely something to be cautious of, be aware of. Try to have a good inventory system, if you can. So you're sending out to the appropriate items. And then if you want to get the top rated seller plus, which you have to be able to ship items next business day, at least, you'll be able to find items quickly and you'll be able to, ship them out so you can get that added discount, and save a little bit on fees. It's not crazy, but it's something. Everything helps, when it comes to fees. So, and some of these people, I mean, some of the people that people are getting advice from that I have witnessed, and they've said they've done this before, um, and are big name people with, over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. And so, when they have over 100,000 subscribers, a lot of people believe that they are, they believe them. They believe that that this is the advice they should be following, right? Because they have such a following. That's why this person that I showed the feedback on bought from me, because I have such great feedback. I strive to have great feedback. I look to have great feedback. Every time I get a neutral and negative, I'm like, why? Why did I warrant that? Why did I get that? What am I doing wrong? Is it me? And I go through the whole process. What did I do? Did I make sure I did everything I possibly could? And therefore, it could be just a negative person. So, definitely, just be cautious. That's all I say. Be cautious. Look at everybody. Take advice from everybody and formulate your own opinions and your own workflows, based on what everybody is putting out there and what they're showing you. So, I don't necessarily show a lot of the bad and the uglies because, like I said, I've worked them out of the system. I've worked them out of my whole system here. Do I occasionally pick up items actually, I did pick up an item the other day. It was a baby's first scrapbook for like your first baby. It was, I think it was $2.99 over at Savers. And I looked through it and I quickly scanned it over at Savers and, I checked it. I was like, we're good to go. We're going to pick this up. It's great. It looks good. It's in brand, unused. Well, I got it home and then I was, what I typically do is, because they're typically like books like this, like scrapbooks and stuff, photo albums, unless they're completely wrapped up in plastic, I'll open them and I'll list it as open box, and then I'll open it and I'll take pictures of the inside so people could see what the inside of the book looks like. And so I just happened to be flipping through the pages, and one wrecked page in the book was written. I'm like, not even the first page. It wasn't even the title page or where you would put your name. It was a random page in the middle of the whole book. And I'm like, what? Why would you write in the randomest of locations in the middle of a book? Otherwise, it was completely unused. And I thought for 2 seconds, should I list it? Should I not list it? I just threw it away. I'm like, it was only $2.99. So I'm like, I'll just take it as a loss. And I got other items, that day that will make up for it. They'll make up the profit, which is why I try to buy as low as possible. And sometimes, when there is criticism on resellers, saying, "Oh man, these resellers is just they're taking advantage of people." Well, there's a lot of hidden costs that people that are not doing this don't know about. And this is one of them. Sometimes we have bad items. There are items that need to be thrown out. Sometimes you miss stuff and you have to throw it out. So I guess that's maybe it's a bad thing that happened, but it doesn't happen often, right? I just gotta I'm gonna learn from it, and I'm definitely gonna be going through books with the more detail when I look at them again at the thrift store. But you don't want to get lazy. Well, that's enough of that. This will end up in a decanter. That's what happens with whiskeys I don't like. Or I don't really I shouldn't really say that I don't like it. It's just I don't it's not my preference. It's not something I really, I'd rather spend my money on things that I actually do enjoy and are more down my alley. So this will just go in a decanter and I'll just it'll get be an everyday drinker basically is what it will be until I'm done with that bottle. That's how I drink every day. And I don't trust me. I don't drink every day. As a matter of fact, this week, I'll tell you this week, this is the first drink I've had all week. Um, yeah, I just wasn't in the mood. Sometimes I'll sit there and I'm not in the mood. And then many times I don't like to have whiskey after I've eaten. Uh because I don't like the mixture of flavors in my mouth. I don't like if I'm eating and drinking something, I will typically have a mixed drink with it. Um, I'll typically have whiskey before a meal, and that way my palate isn't ruined when I'm drinking it. Because whiskey is expensive. I mean, spirits are expensive, especially if you're at a restaurant. It's expensive for a drink, and so I don't want to muddle the flavors in my mouth when I'm drinking. I want to be able to enjoy it. Um, and so after I've eaten, right after you eat, who knows what you got in your mouth. Especially something like if you're eating something with Parmesan cheese. Um, but so I don't drink all the time, and I like to sit back and enjoy my drink, and I'm really, really like trying to pick out those flavors, and I don't want to waste my money on spirits that are not they're not good. So when I'm out and about, like shopping for something, I'll definitely like Bevmo. I think Bevmo and Total Wine, they have little like little cards on there that have show you how much it is, and they'll kind of give you like tasting notes on it. So you kind of can rely on that. At Costco, I'll definitely look stuff up. I'll be like, hey, that's something new right there, and I'll look up to see if anybody's done any reviews on it recently, and I'll look at somebody's reviews. The Whiskey Vault channel on YouTube is a great resource for whiskey and getting your tasting notes and maybe something interesting that you want to try. I do really enjoy his opinion. Again, I get multiple opinions. I'm looking out for when I'm looking for something. Like if I'm going to buy something, I don't know. I bought the what do you call it? Because of tariffs, I bought the DJI Action Camera 5. I wasn't initially going to buy it, but I did buy it because I really wanted the low light. It has a new low light feature. And so I went over the review. I went over multiple different reviews, not just, and I went over Amazon reviews, that's real world reviews, what people in the real world are talking about it. I look at negative, positive, neutral ones. I watched several different videos on its performance and everything before I actually made a purchase on it. So I'm definitely trying to be an informed buyer, an informed person, just being more informed. I guess that's the main takeaway, right? Is just trying to be as informed as possible, trying to collect as much information as possible, and then making your own decision. Everything, not just reselling, not just e-commerce, not just trying to get advice on reselling. Everything, doctors especially. I still work in a hospital, even though I only put in one day at work. I still work in a hospital, and I've worked very closely with surgeons. And let me tell you, get as many opinions as possible. Don't rely just on one opinion, unless you completely trust and like the person. And some of those that are out there where they're just so nice. There was Dr. Godley, who such a nice person and such one of those old time doctors that really, really, and there was another one, Dr. Rydell too. although she had a bit, it was an acquired taste, but she was somebody that really, really like just cared. They both just really, really cared about everything about their craft, right? About being a doctor and helping people. And I trusted their opinions. I really trusted their opinions. I would not see they would be the end all be all and the end when I needed their help in their specialty. That would be the last word. Um, but if you're out there, get as many opinions as possible. No matter what you're doing, get as many, but trust me. Trust me, I've worked behind the scenes in the medical field. Get as many opinions as you possibly can. Obviously within reason, right? If it's costing you a lot of money, don't, then, be cautious. Oh, I went on and on, and I got to talk about should you be listing every single, yeah, this goes along with advice, with advice that's out there. Should you be listing every single day? Should you not be listing every single day? Well, the video I watched, I don't remember the name of the person that put out the video. If it comes to me, I'll remember. I was thinking it was like resolutions. It was like a take on resolutions, but resolutions. Who made the video? It definitely made some interesting points. And I definitely agree with what he was saying regarding selling every single, about listing every single day, and how you can end up in burnout. You can end up in a situation where you're just listing items just to list it. You're not listing good quality items that will resell. Um, yeah, but I am definitely, and there it seems to be a correlation between how many items you list per day and how many sales you get per day. There seems to be a correlation. I don't know if that is true or not. Um, I have quarterly meetings with an eBay person, with a person at eBay. And we go over sales, we look over sale, what's happening, what's new, what's all that. And we look on the backside. You can look on the back end of things and, tell me what's working, what's not working. We can look at advertisements, all that. So, and I will tell you that they can either confirm or deny that that is the case. So it's really kind of an unknown whether listing every single day does help. But what I can tell you is, and I mentioned this before, treat your store as if you have your own little brick and mortar store somewhere. If you have you have a store at the mall, you have a kiosk at the mall, right? What stores do you regularly shop at? Why do you regularly shop there? And maintain your store that way. I walk by so many stores, especially at the mall. We spend a lot of time at the mall. There's a mall very close to us, and we spend a lot of time there. We run into a lot of friends there too that go there all the time. Um, and we walk by stores that there are stores that we just don't ever walk into at all. There are stores we just walk right by. Why is that? Because they look dull. They never change their storefronts. They never change there's a great movie called Mannequin. It was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, when I'm telling you when I was a kid, I'm telling you as when it came out back in the 80s, and I was no, I was gonna say toddler, but not a toddler. I was like a grade school kid, right? So, and it's an adult movie. It's a movie more for geared towards adults, and I love that movie. Um, if you watch it, you may know why, but it's nonetheless, it was a great movie. I still watch it to this day from time to time. But uh, the guy aspired to be a window dresser, a professional window dresser, right? Setting up the mannequin, setting up the scenes in there to try to draw people in. And I really think it's a lost art, but it works. The stores that are constantly changing, updating their storefronts, the stores that have, they have glass, they can decorate the glass, the front glass, what people see when they're walking by, right? What's some of the first things that you see? Sale signs. They put them right there when people are walking by. There's a sale right now. Come inside. And then they'll update that. They'll put their new latest products out in the front window, right there in the front when people are walking through. The stores we walk by all the time don't do that. They keep the same old stuff right in there, actually collecting dust sometimes. just sitting there like, that's another dull store right there. Boring. Why do I want to walk in there? And then the stores that have, they're always, changing out their merchandise, like Box Lunch, there's always the latest stuff. New movies coming out. They have the latest stuff right there in front of the store. And that's like draws you right in, right? You start walking, you're like, hey, I saw that movie's coming out. Let's go. And then you start, walking that way, then you end up in the store, right? And they're changing up all their, they change up all their merchandise. They don't have the same things just showing right at the front of the store all the time. Sometimes the stuff move back, and eventually they move out the back door, right? Um, Same has to be true for online. It's harder online because it's not a physical location, right? But we are taking physical pictures. We are taking, putting items in there. People aren't necessarily, I don't really know people that just go through and just browse different storefronts, but there's storefronts on eBay that you can keep refreshing. But one way to refresh things is constantly putting new items in there, constantly putting new items out there for people to see. Maybe they won't see it because there's so much. Maybe you're in a really, in a category that's just, really like clothing, right? There's so many clothing resellers out there, so many clothing sellers out there that you could just be buried in the back. So maybe you have to use something else like run sales or promotions or something like that. But I definitely believe constantly keeping things fresh in your store. And by keeping it fresh, putting listings up in your store, doing something like a sale in your store, sending out offers, just keeping things fresh, keeping things moving and going in your store, treating it like an actual physical place, trying to draw people in, trying to get people excited about coming into your store. And then when you have people in your store, trying to get more people in your store, right? So, while I don't think you have to list every day, and I've definitely have gone days without listing before. It definitely happened to me. I've done it before in the past. I don't do it now. I try to stay consistent, and that's just more just for being consistent in general. But I do have access to a lot of great items, and I hope that my thrifting videos are showing you what kind of great items you can potentially find. Maybe you can't find all the great clothes because you have a bunch of t-shirt bros out there pulling all the great clothes down and before you even get to the store or garage sale or flea market, then maybe you have to jump into another category. And I hope I'm really helping with providing the content I am to try to find those cool, unique, different items that can resell really, really well. So, you know, I think the person is either right or wrong. Again, it goes with that advice. It's neither right nor wrong advice. It brought up some good points about not just throwing up garbage into your store, not throwing up just everyday hats. Like I have a hat, like, the hat market is incredibly flooded. There's all kinds of Columbia hats, yeah, what would it take to get this sold? Probably a really low price because there's probably quite a few out there. It's a great brand. I like this hat. This is my own personal hat. Um, it's a great brand to look out for, but it's nothing high end. I would never think to get more than $10 for this. So you really got to do a lot to try to get this sold. And I probably wouldn't even list this kind of a hat in there because I know it's going to sit forever. Um, so not listing items. If you want high velocity sales, you want, sales all the time, you're going to have to do a lot better than a Columbia hat. I'll tell you that right now. Um, something like if you list like I have my DJI camera right here, my DJI camera. If you list one of these, I'll tell you, and you price it right too. You got to think about pricing too. You can't go like, $500 for a brand new used one, but you can get one for $399 over at Costco right now. But if you price it right, you look at what things are selling for, and this will be a hot seller. This will sell incredibly fast. Obviously, I'm not going to sell it because I make videos with it. So, picking out the right items and not getting lazy and picking out the wrong items, items that might be items like, this cookbook right here. I picked up this cookbook. This is for myself actually, but, it might not, it's not really a hot seller. But, picking up items like this and thinking, "Oh, I'll keep picking up cookbooks and reselling them," Cookbooks don't really sell that often. Julia Child ones do. I've sold those before. But, your average everyday cookbooks, they don't necessarily move that quickly. DVDs don't move that quickly. So you gotta list a lot. If you're in the DVD game, the media game, you gotta be listing a lot. It's not that they don't sell, it's just you're not gonna see consistent sales unless you have 10,000 DVDs up, you know? Unless you have a lot, unless you're very diversified by having 10,000 listed. Kind of a lot of advice that goes into investing is it can be applied here. Buy low, sell high. Um, being diversified, not just by having a lot of listings out, diversifying in a bunch of different categories. If you can, right? Obviously, it's going to take a learning curve to learn other categories. But I'm pretty sure a lot of people know a lot about many different things. So, take your knowledge and use it, put it to use. Watch videos like mine, watch videos like others. So be cautious, be aware, formulate your own opinions. So let me just, and the other thing too, accept offers quickly. I'm looking at offers right now. Many people talk about work-life balance. Work-life balance. I'm here to tell you, there's no work-life balance. There's just life. Great quote from Tombstone, the movie Tombstone from Val Kilmer. Rest in peace. One of my favorite actors. And he says, tells Wyatt Earp at the end, he played Doc Holliday in that movie. And he tells Wyatt Earp, there is no, he said, there's no normal life. Well, Wyatt Earp tells him, I just want a normal life. I just want to live a normal life. And he tells him, there's no normal life. There's only life. So get out there and live it. So, work-life balance, whatever, it's all part of life. If you want to make money, there's money to be made during the day, during an 8-hour regular day when everybody's awake. There's money to be made at night. Just like in the stock market, when they tell you there's money to be made on the way up, there's money to be made on the way down. There's another great movie quote from the movie Wall Street. This reminded me right now. The bulls. So bulls are the people that are always, saying the economy is great and they're making money when, times are good, everything's going up, stock market's going up. And the bears, who are the people who are making, the economy's bad, but they're making money on the way down as well too. They're making money on the way down. I'll tell you really quick how to make money on the way down in the stock market. But, and there's the bulls make money, bears make money, and the pigs get slaughtered. It's from one movie, Wall Street. Michael Douglas' character says that. It basically means, you don't want to be just wallowing, you don't want to, you want to follow either the way up or, follow the way down, but don't just be wallowing, be neutral in the middle. You're just going to get slaughtered if you do. And so one way really, so to kind of now transition here a little bit, one way to make money on the way down, it's not very easy and not something that I do, or, you really, it's, you got to have a lot of money. First, you got to have a lot of money to do it. Okay. And have a lot of collateral to do it. So what you're going to do is there's different ways to do it, but the main way is to short, and you might hear this out there. So-and-so shorting this company. What is shorting? Shorting, what you're doing is so you have, you want to borrow first. What you got to do is you got to borrow stock. You're going to borrow a stock. You're going to talk to somebody that, not necessarily a company that has the stock. You're going to talk to someone that has the stock. And be like, hey, can I borrow that stock from you? And they're going to be like, sure, yeah, why not? You can borrow it, but I want it back. I want the stock back, right? So I'll borrow it from you. Right? Well, what's currently going for, right? That's going to play a major role. Go for $50 a stock. Well, how much do you want to borrow? Let's say you want to borrow 100. I borrow 100 at $50 a stock. Okay. Well, first of all, you also got to be able to put up. You also have you got to put up some, some funds here. You can't just borrow and not just borrow out of, with a handshake. Maybe you could in the past, although I don't remember. I couldn't tell you when, when maybe that could have occurred in the past. I don't know if it has been done in the past. I don't know. But either way, I know how it works now. So you have to put up at least 150%, right? Because otherwise people can just borrow without, without any penalty, right? You just borrow more, borrow this, borrow more of that. So you got to have a little skin in the game, right? You can't just borrow, just borrow willy nilly, because then everybody will be doing it. And then obviously the person doing the lending is going to be losing, right? I'll tell you how you lose and how you win. So, so you buy, all right, let me borrow 100, right? Borrow 100 at $50 a share. Okay. So you take those shares, you sell them immediately. You borrow it. Okay, here you go. I'm going to transfer that over to you. You take it, you sell it immediately at $50. At some point, you're going to need to repay that. You're going to need to pay back that stock. You're going to give the stock back. You have to give the stock back. Now, the goal is when you're shorting a company, the goal is for that stock to go down. The goal is for it to go down. So obviously, right now, when it's pretty volatile, it's not really a good play, in my opinion. It can be done. It's not my opinion. My opinion, I wouldn't be doing it in a very volatile environment as we have right now. You want an environment more where you kind of predict when it's going to go down. You kind of get some, you kind of tell with the numbers, there's a lot of, this is when you've got to rely on the charts and analysts and everything like that. There's people that are in the numbers all the time. They're in the number. They are living in those numbers. They're eating, they're drinking, they're sleeping on those numbers. And you rely on those people to give you an idea of what's going to happen so you can make the appropriate predictions. So in normal times, people who are shorters, people who short companies, they can make these predictions. They can be, okay, I know it's going to drop, so-and-so points. And I know that if I short the company now, I'll make some money. So what your goal is for that company to go down, and then you have to buy that stock back at a lower price. So let's say it starts at 50, it ends at whatever time frame you set at $40 a share. So then you go back and you buy it at $40 a share, and then you go, here's your stock back, and then you make that difference. So it is a strategy to use, a little complex of a strategy. There's obviously some timing involved in there, a lot of work. I mean, nonetheless, there's always a lot of work. There's a lot of work in everything. But I think there's a little bit more work. There's a lot of risk in it as well, too. So you want to be able to hedge your risk. You want to be able to kind of, you don't want to, bet the whole farm on it, right? You want to be able to have your risk spread out so that way it doesn't completely destroy you. Shorting. If it goes up, because if it goes up, what happens? You got to pay for that higher price and return the stock at that higher price. Then you end up squeezed is what ends up happening to you. So if it goes up to 60, then you're like, maybe you can hold out for longer. Some people have. I've seen people hold out, but it keeps going up, and you're like, oh man. Then sometimes you're so committed, you double down on it. Obviously, you got to have the money to back it up, and then you just end up completely squeezed. And I've seen it happen to people where they just get destroyed by trying to short other companies. So it is a play that you can make on the way down when companies are going down, right? You're betting on the company losing, basically. So that is one way to do it, to make money when companies are losing money. Essentially what they're doing, they're losing money. They go down because their business model isn't, or they're at that time, their business isn't doing very great. They might not be making the sales that if they're retail, they might be missing on sales. If they're, in tech or in cars, they might be delivering cars, at the same rate that they were the previous month or previous quarter, I should say. So that is one way to do it. But either way, enough of that, and on to what do we? Oh, I kind of I undid the do not disturb for a brief second, and then boom, what happens? Interruptions. Okay, let me put that back on do not disturb. Um, uh, what was I saying? Oh, that's what I was doing. I was looking at my phone to get to the rest of the notes here. That's what I was doing. Bam, 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 bam. Okay, so this week in the stock market, very quiet, and a lot of people in the news are saying pretty quiet week, which is good, which is what we needed. We definitely got some earning results from tech companies this week, and it was fairly good news. It was nothing. Maybe there was a couple here and there that were not within what people were predicting, but overall, it was good. Intel did report good earnings, decent, as far as a lot of companies provide guidance for the future. They'll be like, oh, well, yeah, we did great right now, but in the future, this is what it's supposedly going to look like. Um, and they didn't provide great outlook. But as of right now, they're doing okay. And Intel's a good barometer. I tend to favor tech heavily because I'm a tech guy. I build computers and stuff like that. So I'm heavy into tech. I'm a tech person. And Intel's a good barometer for the tech industry. Not necessarily that, Intel hasn't been doing that great from delivering the best chips that they possibly can. That's what they are. They do CPUs. They haven't been able to deliver the best. They kind of been stuck. They've been stuck on that's the whole thing. They've been stuck with their own business, right? Everybody's in business. We're all in business. Y'all end up stuck somewhere. They end up stuck on what they call in the production of fabrication of their chips. And so I think they finally got them all rolling on things, but they're a good barometer for how the tech space, because they're such a huge company. Even though they do have their times where they stumble, they're a good barometer for how the tech community, tech companies are doing overall, how much people are buying computer-wise. Obviously people are buying computers. Most computers have Intel chips in them. If they're not buying computers, they're not buying Intel then, right? So they're a good barometer for how tech is doing with consumers, with businesses, and all that. So if they're doing well, a lot of other businesses are doing well. A lot of consumers are doing well. People are buying computers. Companies are buying servers and all that. So we know things are going okay. Things have been going okay. Remember, they report on past data, right? The past quarter. So, and then they give kind of guidance for the future, which, who knows what the future holds, right? Nobody knows what the future holds. So they kind of give guidance for that. And sometimes people give bad guidance for the future, but then so that way, when it's actually good news, come that time frame, they'll be like, hey, you gave us bad news before, but now you're doing really good. But you actually did really good. So now we're gonna buy more stock. We're gonna send your stock up. So, because you said it was gonna be bad, but it wasn't bad. That whole think the worst and then actually so anything better than that is good. Um, so Intel did pretty well. Google, of course, always, does really well. Yeah. Oh, they're pretty much an advertising company at this point. But they did really well. Everybody's advertising online, right? And so Google is one of the largest. So they did really well. Tesla was an interesting one because Tesla did not do well. They actually did not get close, in my opinion, and in many opinions of others. They didn't really get close to what estimates were, which I think estimates were. I took a screenshot here. Let me pull up my phone. Estimates were what was 30? I think it was 39 cents a share. Oh, come on. Every time you're trying to find something, you just can't do it. Here we go. Yeah. Was it 39 cents? 39 cents. So the estimate was 39 cents a share was what they're, expect. Obviously, 39 cents times how many shares are outstanding gives you the total number. Billions, right? It goes up to billions. Or I'm sorry, the cent. This is cents, millions, right? It goes into millions. But as far as the overall value of the stock, it's in the billions, right? Well, I don't even know what the valuation of Tesla is right now. What was the total? Oh, so they ended up coming in at 27 cents a share. So it's a big miss, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many others. And income, it's based on their income, right? And based on how many cars they're moving, I didn't take a good screenshot here. It's kind of cut off on the top and, eh, oh well. But um, either way, they didn't reach estimates. And many people are thinking that it's because of Elon Musk and his affiliation with the administration with Doge, right? He's not paying that much attention to Tesla. However, Tesla is a well-oiled machine. It doesn't. Yes, it needs a leader, and yes, that leader is very, very important to Tesla. Um, but in my opinion, it isn't really, really based on what he's doing right now. Yes, it can have an effect. Some people have an opinion on him, and I'm not going to buy a Tesla anymore. But I really think the people that really wanted a Tesla have a Tesla right now, and they're expensive, right? They're expensive cars, expensive upkeep as well too. So I think we might be in a bit of a transition period where people aren't necessarily all going out to buy Teslas right now. They kind of have the Teslas they want. And so maybe in about a year or two, we will see, that flip and maybe more Teslas start going out, which is why the company needs to continue to innovate. And they were talking about robo-taxi, right? Which is basically a driverless car, taxi. And I think it's launching in Austin. I don't know the year. They said the year, but I don't remember. It's launching in Austin at some point. And, you got to continue to innovate. You got to continue to diversify no matter what business you're doing. And obviously they're focused on building cars and selling cars. They really, really want to get diversified into other areas such as robo-taxi. So another avenue to make money. And, that's really what I think the takeaway here is that everybody has Tesla that wants Tesla. Nobody's upgrading cars like they aren't upgrading phones at that kind of velocity. So you're hitting a point where, okay, yeah, we're not moving as many cars anymore, but they still want to continue to show that we have other avenues to make money. They have the software side of things as well too, which I don't know if I have to read more into it. I don't know if they make money on the software side of things. I think there's some features you can pay for. I don't know if that's a huge moneymaker. But the cars and selling the cars is where they make the money, and they need to be able to innovate there in that area and find new ways to make money by selling cars. And one way to do that is robo-taxi. And obviously, I think the way it was described was it's going to be a car, it's going to be a taxi, where someone buys the taxi and they're going to make money on top of that. So there's going to be more ways to make money, basically. So interesting. Those are my opinions on that. And then the other thing, really quickly, just to touch on tariffs, because that's still looming. And in the news was imports. See, I lost the thing again. I keep moving around on my phone. Imports on the West Coast, where I live in the West Coast, they are predicting a potential 20% drop in cargo coming in. So that is huge. 20% is huge. So what did I say earlier in the video about, I already forgot what I was saying earlier in the video about a lot of stuff being here in the US. Something about a lot of stuff being here in the US. You can go back in the video and rewatch what I said. But either way, this is going to have a huge impact on, 20% is huge. That's huge. All the stuff we import, 20% is a huge number. So that will definitely affect the amount of items that are here in the US. It'll affect the amount of work that's needed at the docks, at all this stuff that's incoming. They're not going to have the same amount of work that's needed. So this could affect off workers. It could affect store shelves, like what's on store shelves, how well stocked your store is going to be. A lot of this is, going to be brand new retail merchandise is going to go into a retail setting. So, that could trickle down. That could trickle down all the way to where a lot of things aren't getting donated anymore. Thrift store is going to be less. There's going to be less overall, less maybe lockers going, locker buyers, less lockers to be bought, less, less waste. I think we want less waste, but I don't know. We rely upon it so much. Either way, that's enough talking. Let me know. I don't actually talk that much because yeah, I'm out and about. I'm thirsty. I was actually talking to Michael, the safe picker today over at Savers. So I've been doing some short videos on Savers, and that's one of the days he's there. So I run into him. It's a chit chat with him. It's always cool to talk to other people that do the same thing you do because it's me here. And I can talk to my kids, I can talk to my wife, and I could talking to dogs, and they don't know anything, right? They don't know what I'm doing. They just want their treats, right? They want their little biscuits here. Dog sitter. Um, but it's nice to get out and chit chat from time to time. Um, and Mike Goldsmith is incredibly knowledgeable on so many different things, and he pulls so many great items. I mean, the items he picks out at Savers, which I've always criticized Savers, and I will still criticize Savers. But the items he gets, amazing, amazing. I mean, it's not just timing, he knows what is good. He knows what's great quality. I talk about this. He knows what's great quality. He knows what to pick up. He knows what what items that need further research, what items to look up, what items to put in your cart. And, get some great items out there. So, a great guy. Definitely check out his channel. He's good advice in the reselling space. He knows a lot about books too. He knows I lack in the book department. I really don't like. I read books. I do read books. I'm reading a book right now on shape shifting. But yeah, I'm not necessarily that good at reselling books, and I don't think I really want to jump all the way into reselling books. But he does an amazing job selling books, and we're kind of talking about that as well too. And does an amazing job with it. So otherwise, that's the end of the video. I'm done talking, and I'm getting hungry, and it's time. Okay, time to end it. I'm ending it here. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Let me actually go to the song too. I like the song. I grew up country. I grew up listening to country music. Not I grew up in a country, but in the country. A country boy, I should say. I come from California. But I grew up listening to country music, so I tend to fall back on country music. Bye.
Hey, you've made it to the end. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please like the video by hitting the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel by hitting my little round icon down below. It really does help us out here. Also, you'll find a couple of selections. You'll see a playlist of videos to watch and my most recent video that I did upload.